Greetings hobbyists, this is All, and I'm here with a quick update for the video where we had a look at how to make Gothic Arches. So in that video we had a look at two ways of making Gothic Arches, the first one using a curve and the second one using the spin tool. And I had a great comment from a watcher called Emily, and she said, why don't you just use a Screw Modifier? Well actually let's look at that because it's a really good idea. So what I've got here is I've still got my plane, so I'm just going to G and Y that along, and that's what we use to create this. I'm going to stick with the same thing we wanted to do with these arches. If you want to watch that video, there's a link in the description, where we wanted to have this exactly 5 units across. So the beauty about this is that it's going to be non-destructive, and it uses a lot of the similar workflow that we did with our spin tool. So what we need to do is set a center point for our object. So what I'm going to do is the same thing again. Go into options, change the origin so that we can move that, and I'm just going to G and Y that across, and I'm going to type in 2.5 so we've got that exactly there. Then I'm going to turn that option for the origin off. Then I'm going to need to bring in an empty, so I'm just going to shift an S, bring my cursor to selected, and then shift an A, and then bring in an empty, and I'm just going to use some plain arrows, and I'm just going to G and Y that another 2.5. So now that is exactly 5 units away from our plane that we're going to use to create this curve. From that point on, it's relatively easy. Add a modifier, we want a Screw Modifier, so that's down here. We don't want this happening in the Z-axis, which is from above. We want it happening in the X-axis, because we want to look at it front on. Now, what's great about this is that it is non-destructive, as I mentioned, which means that we can sort this out. So firstly, we don't need the screw going all this way. In fact, we actually want it to have a minus amount to it. So let's go to about there. So I'm going to go a little bit further than halfway. So let's say minus 96. Now you are going to notice that this looks like it's being smoothed out, and that's because of the normal option here is automatically to be smooth. Let's click that off so we can see what's going on. And the other thing that's great about this is that I can actually change the amount of steps going on here to make this smoother or less smooth. Now I'm going to put that to about 30 for now, but we're going to come back to that importantly. The final thing we can do, because at the moment this is going to look like an arch, not our Gothic pointed arch, is we need to set this to stop curving around the origin. At the moment it's trying to rotate around the origin of our object. Instead, we can set this so that it tries to rotate around an object, which is going to be the empty we created. So select our axis object, select our empty, and now we've got that going here. We can probably down that a little bit. At this point, we just need to add another modifier, which is going to be a Mirror Modifier. We want that going in the Y direction, and we do want to activate our clipping, and we do need to flip that and bisect it. So now we've got that sorted. Now what's really cool about this is if I put on wireframe, so we can see our wireframe here, not only can I up on my Screw Modifier the number of steps to make it smoother, I can also have a look at where these are going, so I can set up, so for example there is going to look pretty good because we're going to get as close as we can to the middle. I can also change my angle here slightly to do a similar thing, so we can fix that and make a more well-designed object, effectively creating quads, or close to quads. We would have to do a little bit of cleanup there just by fiddling around with the angle and the steps. So a non-destructive method there. Thanks Emily, really great suggestion. I will also just add finally at the end, because this is non-destructive, we can also do things like take our empty, G and then Y, and we can change the height using that empty and moving it backwards and forwards, which is a lot of fun. So I really like that as a non-destructive workflow, and hopefully you find that interesting as well. Have a great day guys.